Hi all, I just want to do a quick post-mortem of this position. I want to really emphasise absolutely terrible habits which maybe many of us share. The opponent's just played Queen c6, so there's an implication of a seemingly dangerous check or useful check with d4, so an impulse reaction is to stop the check. And I was going to do a video soon about, Zwesians, as how in longer games you might not do an automatic recapture. You might do an in-between move and then a recapture. And the longer the games, the more you've got to sort of look at that. So you're breaking the routines, but there's another emotional routine here after Queen c6, where some of you at least might be thinking, well, you've got to do something about the check's useful. These emotions might be coming into your mind as the queen stares at your king. And this is going to happen in all our games. The opponent's going to do something which if we respect our opponent at all, we respect their move and their threat. And that's another discipline, trying to work out what the threat is in the position. But really, I think there's another stage, really working out, is it a threat? Is it really a threat? Is it of great effectiveness? If the threat's not amazingly effective, of having the check, maybe you can allow the check. You can actually positively welcome checks in the same way that positively welcome the idea of not looking at routine recaptures, looking beyond the obvious. The problem is the obvious is like grained into us from all the games of chess we've ever played, where we have this immediate reaction, what is the threat of the opponent's last move, or I must recapture this, or, the opponent must, you must have some respect for the opponent, of course, to respect their threats, but here it's of very little effectiveness to get the check, because there's only a knight here, nowhere near the king, so it's not as if the knight was here and going to be knight h3 if I move the king. It's not. There's a bishop covering g5 anyway. Just saying, if there was inferior knight, it might have been dangerous in some other context, but here the threat is actually not at all effective. But there's these routines, routine recaptures and routine parrying seemingly threats and routine sort of safety moves with the king and avoiding checks, when sometimes, as I say, checks can be totally welcomed. And it turns out there's ways to welcome the check here. There's a key way. There's a really crushing move in this position which would have just ended this game here and now if I wasn't in this routine kind of state of thinking that there's going to be a check, I've got to do something, blockade the pawn, which is another routine kind of decision, to blockade a pawn, to reduce mobility. The thing is, there's a timing thing here as well. At the moment there's no opposing rook on the F file, which is something to celebrate. That when there's no opposing rook on the F file, that means that any one of these rook moves is more effective, more significant. So on the one hand we have something which isn't really at all significant because there's no backup for the queen, and on the other we have a more significant factor. And doing some post-mortem, clearly actually there's a crushing, absolutely crushing move here which not only welcomes the check to happen, forget trying to stop it, which is like routine reaction, but also celebrates no opposing rook, which is definitely more effective. And two birds with one stone here with the move rook f6. This is an absolutely crushing move because so celebrating that there's no opposing rook, evicting the queen, welcoming the check, because just take it. The check can be looked straight in the eyes of the checker. Sometimes let the check happen. But I think I just wanted to emphasize something, that this is a total blind spot here after Queen c6. We could practice that together and then see the impact for your own games. Just look, examine your own emotional reaction. So I'm not talking about chess analysis now. Just examine in this position your own emotional reaction to Queen c6 and be honest about it. That is your first reaction, to block the check rather than to look the check piece in the eye with rook f6. that would do that. And also that moment of no opposing rook is totally lost with this next move, because now rook f8, and it's far less effective to play rook f6. The moment's gone. And then of course I was looking tactically at bishop h6, but it's too little too late. I don't think bishop h6 does anything to try and get rook f7 in here. Oh, the engine's crashing the machine here or something. So anyway, I think you're getting a point here. I wanted to put across that we're kind of training ourselves for emotional reactions, maybe on blitz or just generally through the experience of chess, that our perception of threats or captures creates these routine responses. So I think maybe sometimes we've got to somehow look fear right in, welcome what we fear. If it's not that effective, then welcome it. Let the check happen. Challenge the checker. Let the check happen. It's not that stops the check, but it looks straight at the check, walking in d4 basically, which would be check technically. That's what I mean. So these emotional impulses can severely affect quality of games, and if I'm blundering like this at 15 minute, I do wonder about the longer games. So, and I have experienced sometimes in longer games, one-day games, missing, Zwischenzugs or whatever, important alternatives. So that's what it's about. So getting rid of fear and reaction impulses, and substituting for more less reactive decisions, and still addressing those fears. The check piece can be attacked. It's just something to think about anyway. I hope some of you see my point here about routine decisions, stereotype decisions. I'll block the pawn, stop the check. These are stereotype decisions, reactions, stereotypical reactions, I suppose we could call them. And we've got to try and avoid them, I think, a lot of the time, especially when we've got time to explore a wealth of other options which could be very viable and much more effective. Comments or questions on YouTube? Thanks very much.